that, we're gonna need about a 25.
All right, how was that?
Wow, look at the headroom. So if any of you guys are Sony shooters, you may never need a gimbal again. So I got super excited when I found out about this process, and I have to show you guys this. And I know it's nothing new and exciting. Catalyst browse and gyroscopic data has been around for a while, but I just never really took advantage of it. So this is something I just recently discovered, and it's nothing new, and it's not just Catalyst browse. I'll walk you through my process on things to look out for and how to take advantage of this with any Sony camera. Well, I shouldn't say any Sony camera. Most of the new Sony cameras have the Catalyst browse and come with Catalyst browse and have the built-in gyroscopic data, which let me explain to you how that works and what are some things to look out for when using it versus a gimbal. So the way that the gyroscopic data works is it's as you're carrying your camera. With the footage you're seeing now, I just had this compact set up with the G Master 50mm. So what happens is when you're holding the camera and every little tilt and sway that is going on in your hands, all of that data is being recorded along with the footage into the card. So when you pop it into Catalyst Browse, and here, let me show you how to do that. That's so easy. You open up Catalyst Browse, you drop your footage in, you click Stabilize, and then what's really neat about this is I love this little graph that it shows you, and you can see how far you're cropping in because it does have to crop when it is stabilizing the footage. So imagine every frame the camera What's the best way to explain how this works? I wish I had a better way to show this. So what's happening is the camera knows its level horizon. So every time the camera is tilted any way, the camera records that data, Catalyst Browse reads that data, and if the camera's captured an image slightly tilted, it knows to straighten that out. So when it does this, it has to, on the frame, if the frame is tilted, it has to be able to crop in and then recenter, if that makes sense. So you're going to lose a little bit of resolution on the edges. So with a 4K image on the FX6, and let me go ahead and tell you how to do this on the FX6, is you can only do this in the 3840 by 2160, not 4K DCI, and this doesn't work in any of the high frame rate options. So it will work, I believe, in the high frame rate up to 60p, everything outside of the S&Q modes, but it has to be in the 38 by 40 resolution. And this will not work if you're recording externally using an Atomos or anything like that. So it has to be recorded internally in the XAVC. I feel like I'm underexposed. Am I underexposed? So doing that, you're losing resolution. So I was at a local event and I happen to have this rig with me here, just this tiny compact setup, the FX6 with the 50mm G Master. And one of my friends who's a local artist was performing at this event. And I asked him if I could just grab like a one take all the way through the song, because I thought, you know what, I'll try this Catalyst Browse and see how well this actually works. So he performed a song and I recorded it all the way through. And if you want to see the full video, I'll upload it along with this so you guys can really see the differences here. And it's not a music video, so I didn't have any access to the recordings or a plugin to. It was just it's literally the scratch mic on the FX6, which I tried to EQ so it wasn't like awful to listen to. Taylor sounds great anyways, even on a camera like this with no actual proper microphones. But anyways, it's not a music video. It's literally something I shot as an example to experiment with the Catalyst Browse workflow. So one thing to keep in mind when you're shooting with this and planning to use Catalyst Browse, and this is something I did not do, when you have a natural motion blur and it's captured in the image, so the camera, you kind of sway a little bit, you get a little bit of that streaky blur, which looks normal in real time. Well, when the camera straightens that out, that blur is still there, but the movement wasn't. So then you get these smear effects. And I'll show an example here. So this happens because it's straightening the footage out. So once I ran this through Catalyst Browse, I realized that I lost resolution and I also had this blur effect. So I had Topaz Labs. And Topaz Labs has some AI software. And let me tell you, this is not a sponsored video. Topaz Labs is pretty magical. So what I did was take the footage after I stabilized it in Catalyst Browse. I threw it into Topaz Labs and I used the upscale AI to, I think I upscaled it to 8K, which is kind of overkill, but I just wanted to maximize any possible resolution I could get. And then there is a deblur AI option in it too. So I checked both of those and ran it through Topaz Labs. Now, it did take a long time to process, but when it came out of Topaz Labs, I was absolutely amazed at the resolution it was able to bring back, and I was super impressed by the motion blur that it pretty much eliminated from me having the 180-degree shutter and using Catalyst Browse. It did an amazing job. So typically when you're going to do this, you want to up your shutter so you don't get that motion blur in the first place. But Topaz was able to correct that in a really good way. So I mean, I don't recommend you depending on Topaz to take out all that motion blur. I think you should up the shutter a little bit if you know you're going to be using Catalyst Browse or any kind of post-production stabilization using gyroscopic data. Once I did that, I threw it back into Premiere and I edited it in a 4K timeline, color graded it, did all that, and then I rendered it out, which gave me this final image. And it looked like I shot it on like a Steadicam or something. I think it does not look like a gimbal when it's stabilized through Catalyst Browse. It gives it more of like a floaty look. It kind of reminds me more of like a glide cam or a Steadicam, but I think it's more toward like a glide cam. It does have more of a floaty, free float effect on it, which I actually find a lot more pleasing than the gimbal in most cases. But the fact is that if you clicked over and watch the full video, which I recommend if you really want to see or how this looked in the end. Sorry, I don't know if you hear my dog walking by, his nails on the wood floor. But if you really want to see how this looked, and I recommend you check it out, it is super impressive. And it was just this little rig right here. That's all it was. Just this. And it was stable as crap. So that's really all I have. I just got excited about how that turned out and just wanted to share that with you guys. I thought it was pretty cool, and Catalyst Browse and gyroscopic data is, I think, something that is overlooked a lot of the time and underestimated. It is awesome. And then paired with something like Topaz Labs, absolutely amazing. I highly recommend both of these softwares. So that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.